Hello. So this short video is about setting up some sanding in such a way that you can make sure that your fretboard is flat. I made this fretboard and then strung it all up and everything, and it wasn't, even though I thought it was flat, it wasn't as flat as I thought, or as flat as it could be. So I needed to set up a scenario or a way of sanding it so that it's nice and flat. And I'm still working on it. As you can see, it's not perfect at all. But I thought I'd pause real quick just to show the setup I have, and we'll go from there. So this I made myself, and like I said, I've made that fretboard. And I was just going to go out and buy one, give some company the measurements and then buy it. But I was so close, and I had beautiful wood, and I thought, well, I'll just, make it myself. And it was my first time. And so this whole thing is my first time at kind of doing something like this. So it'll be good enough for me, even if I only make one. Like you can tell, these are off-centered, and whatnot. But and that one's off-centered, and then there's cracks and grooves, so it's pretty sloppy, but I think I can hide some of that when I darken the wood. But more to the point, I've set this up. I took a piece of PVC board, and I took 40 grain sandpaper, and I used Elmer's glue, and I glued it down, and then I wanted to get to it quickly, so I glued it down, and then I used my heat gun and just carefully heated it up. In the process of deciding on the sandpaper to use there, I wanted something that was going to chew away at the wood pretty quickly so that I wasn't out here all night. And then I'm going to go probably from that 40 maybe to 100, right? And then that 100's, as you can kind of see it in the light, it's kind of rough, but not as rough as the 40. I mean, that 40 is just like, it's like asphalt. Then I'll go from the 100 to the 400, and then from the 400 maybe to 1,000, or I might skip 2,000 and go to 3,000. I'm not a very patient person, so when it comes to this kind of thing. So the idea would be to go down gradually. Now, one of the issues with using this 40 is more flaws on my fretboard. See where the 40 grabbed the grain of the wood and ripped it up right there. So you want to be careful of that. If you're going to go and work on a fretboard, you want to not use something so rough that you're going to catch your edges. So I'm going to have to, either figure that out or just live with it and say, hey, you know what, it was my first one. So, but I am continuing to sand, and you can see where the high spots were because this part has been untouched so far by the sanding. But I've gotten pretty much everything else. Now, even though you're using something as flat as that, you can still lean your hands left and right without realizing it. And so I have a low corner over here down on this end that I need to be careful of. And then if I turn it around and look at it from this direction, I had this is the low side and this is the high side over here. I can't get my finger over there, but to the right. And so that is something you want to be careful of. Here is the way I'm holding it. I started off initially by turning this thing around and sanding it this way. But I can tell you that my fretboard is the thinnest down here on this end. And obviously it gets thicker and thicker and thicker when you get up to here. Now, and I'm okay with getting more and more of this gone. So when you are pushing this direction, and you're going this, I can't do it without holding it, but going this direction, you don't even realize it, but your hand is pushing down toward the front. And that will cause you to sort of chew more on this end than this end. You'll be chewing more on this end than this end. And so I figured out after about, a couple minutes, that I really wanted to turned it this way, and I'm resting my hand sort of in the middle, and I'm trying to sand it carefully by pushing more in the center. Now, initially, I know that when I first started sanding this, I already had a high side, so I wanted to work that. So when I wanted to work the left, I kind of leaned up here, and my palm was pushing on this side over here. When I wanted to, and then I realized, okay, I need to back off of that, so I came down here, and my finger is pushing right in here as I'm pinching here, and I'm pushing. And I'm trying to do that carefully. I believe that the lighter I go, it's going to take me longer, but the lighter I go, the more I let the weight of the instrument sand the right areas. And so, like here again, I can sometimes get a little bit impatient. But that's the gist of it right there, is I glued a bunch of sandpaper flat. I initially made this fretboard by simply, before I even attached it to the instruments portion, I made this by using a flat 2x4, kind of like this right here, okay? And so you can take a 2x4 and staple your sandpaper down on there and go to town. But this is even worse. When you are pushing down on something like this, with something so small, it is so easy to get it off kilter without realizing it. Maybe I'm pushing down too hard here. It won't look like that. It'll look flat, but you might be pushing slightly more on the right or more on the left, and you'll get out of whack. And so to have a large, flat sandpaper surface where you can just rest the instrument there and then take it back and forth and apply whatever pressure you need as you go, that is probably the best bet. So that was it. Quick little discussion about the sandpaper and how I have it set up to flatten my fretboards better than what it was. You all have a good day.